Hi, my name is Derrick C. Westbrook, sommelier and partner of Juice at 1340 in Chicago. Today, we're gonna be pairing a classic dish with a non-traditional wine. That classic dish is rigatoni pasta with a red cream sauce. It's pairing with none other than Blaufränkisch out of Austria. Now, what's great about this juxtaposition of this grape varietal and this dish is that we don't think of those things traditionally going together. When we think of rigatoni, red sauce pasta, it's classic. We have a fairly good understanding of what that course is. However, Blaufränkisch is a grape that many of us may not know or never heard of, from a region that we don't think of as making world-class wine sometimes. And just like me in this industry, I may not be what you may think of as a sommelier traditionally. Being black in this industry, making really dope pairings, and loving food, well, it's a pleasant surprise for all who get to engage. And be sure to subscribe below where I paired lobster frites with none other than Chablis. Of course, we're starting with rigatoni pasta, butter, parsley, heavy cream, red pepper flakes, pepper, salt, of course, onions, and whole peeled tomatoes, which we're gonna tear apart, get in there, get a little messy, which is gonna be part of the base of our pasta sauce, cooking with your hands. So let's make our classic rigatoni pasta. We have water starting to boil, first step, and then we're gonna add our butter. And you wanna keep this on medium. You wanna add your onions. Now the great thing about this is we're taking white onions, taking butter, and we're stirring it until it becomes brown. And then we're gonna later add our tomatoes. One thing I love about these dishes and what reminds me of cooking with my mother is she always said cook with color. Color is flavor. She always used to say you eat with your eyes and then your mouth. So having colors like the onions caramelizing in the pan, the red tomatoes, a lovely red pot if you have one, and you'll see we'll add parsley and cheese and all these other things that will add pops of color to this dish. So they say stir roughly about 3 to 5 minutes, really focusing on how the onions brown. As much as it is a science, just like with wine tasting and pairing, it's a little bit of an art too, a little feel. And now for the fun part. Take our tomatoes and their juices, add it right into the pot. Now you want to add it really slow as to not splash, just like that. It's like I've done it once or twice before. So you're gonna let this simmer for roughly about 30 minutes until it starts to thicken just a bit. And while it's simmering, we can go to the pasta. Now, the key to making really great pasta, two things. First, you have to salt the water. And the reason why you want to salt the water is because if you don't salt the water in advance, your pasta is gonna be bland. And you're gonna be using this water later, so adding that salt is gonna help the end product. So our sauce is doing a great job. We have it on a simmer, and our pasta looks at just about the perfect al dente. Maybe a little bit under, but one thing you're gonna realize is that everything's gonna continue to cook just a bit because you're gonna have these hot noodles, you're gonna have this hot sauce, so you don't wanna wait too long, because if you do, then the noodles will break down. And now I'm gonna go drain the pasta, and when we come back, we'll add the rest of our ingredients. Our sauce is just about where we want it to be, so what we're gonna add is heavy cream first. Now you'll see the simmer will diminish just a bit because you're adding this component. It's not necessarily cool, but definitely not hot yet, just the heat, just a touch. And next, we're gonna add salt, a pinch, pepper. The pasta is gonna add starch, which adds fat. Tomatoes, the salt, definitely acid, right? And then you're gonna get a little bit of heat from the pepper and the red pepper flakes. And that pairs really well with the Blaufränkisch because when the Blaufränkisch gets ripe enough, you're gonna get a little bit more of that fruity note, you're gonna get some richness and some creaminess. Let's go red pepper flakes. You want a little spicy? No look. And then we're gonna add that lovely pasta water. This is basically a juice of starch and acid of saltiness, which is great. And I'm gonna do 1/4 cup first. Gonna get that temperature up just a bit. And the reason why I'm getting that temperature up is I'm stirring and I wanna integrate all of these flavors into the sauce. Now, let's add our noodles. This rigatoni is perfect temperature, has just a little bit of give to it, right? But it's not hard. Cooking with color is super important. The pinks, the caramelized brown. I'm gonna add a little green a little later too. Now to the good part, the plating of the food and, well, eating. We're gonna do a generous helping because let's face it, you don't have pots this big just for small helpings. Now we're gonna add our additional spices. So I like to add a little pepper, keep it a little hot, parsley, and cheese. My rule of thumb when cooking is, when they ask how much, more. If you wanna be really fancy and make it look really cute, I'm gonna take a nice little twig, dish it. One thing I learned in restaurants is, I always say you wanna make it look like it's growing out of the bowl. So this parsley is growing out of the bowl. So we've made this great rigatoni pasta with a red cream sauce, caramelized onions, parsley, cheese. Now my mouth is watering and I haven't been able to taste any of this yet. So here we go. Absolutely beautiful. What you're picking up is you're getting the richness from the heavy cream, from the cheese, the starch from the pasta, and the acidity from the tomato, a little bit of heat from those red pepper flakes. Great thing about this dish too is the Blaufränkisch is a little bit lighter, so it doesn't overpower the course. So you're still gonna get all of those notes of acidity, richness, and the slight herbaceous note in this Blaufränkisch really helps accentuate the parsley in the dish. So we prepared this really great dish of rigatoni pasta with the red cream sauce with Blaufränkisch out of Austria. A great interesting juxtaposition, right? Well, when we think about classic courses, this is a classic pairing insofar as that the flavors work well together. And speaking of classic, let's take this pairing a bit further and let's talk about music. I like to pair this course with classical music. See, I've recently been getting into classical music and thinking about violins and cellos and how they create tension. And really great pairings, really great food is all about tension. Remember, your curiosity has to lead the way. If you're curious about a wine and a course that maybe don't pair together traditionally, this should be the excuse to try it. I know society tends to take away our curiosity as we get older and older, but remember, that is the foundation for great creativity, fun, and just like my mother said, you gotta cook with a little color.